I ain't scared of you, mother.
Giving you the real from A to Z surrounding the Dallas Cowboys. News, updates, rumors, transactions, takes, and more. So strap up, Cowboys Nation, and start your day off with A to Z Sports. Live with Will Steele.
3, 2, 1.
Here we go. Oh, yeah. Good morning, good people. Welcome to A to Z Sports Live, presented by me. Streaming live on YouTube. We on Facebook, and of course, I am your host, Will Skywalker. Still, boom. We are back with another State of the Unit address. Yes, indeed. We're talking running backs. We're talking the future and the now. We in 2023. We trying to win, baby. Can this unit get it done? Me personally, I think so. But we're going to find out. We're going to dive into every single last running back on this roster, see who we think fits, doesn't, and is there somebody that could be on a return? We'll get into all of it, man. What's good, Cowboys Nation? What's up, Bomb Squad?
Bomb Squad!
How we doing today, man? Appreciate it. I had to pull it out today, man. I wish I could have pulled this out on Vacha's show, but I had to pull it out today, man. And if y'all don't know what this is, then I just got one thing to say to you.
Hulk Hogan, we coming for you.
Classic, man. Classic. Scrolling through the chat right here, man. And all right, so Gregory want a new intro song? Y'all let me know. I'll get it. I'll get a new intro song popping, but I think everybody loves the intro song. So we'll see what we do here. Adam Cole, yes, sir. Scotty Laxton, that is my guy, Adam Cole, baby. I wish he would have stayed in NXT and WWE, but it is what it is, man. Things happen in that industry. Nonetheless, in our industry, we're going to talk about the running backs today, man. How y'all doing this morning, huh? We got the NBA draft tomorrow. Victor's going to go number 1. You know, they're talking about all that. They're talking about Dame Lillard possibly being traded. A lot of things happening, not on the court or field in the in the sports world. And that's what we call, ladies and gentlemen, the dog days of sports. And I can't stand it. We are in the dog days, but we're going to keep y'all up to date as best we can and entertain with quality content here on this channel, as well as on our website, atozsportsdallas.com. And y'all know I like to do segments, and one of our main ones are State of the Union, and we got the running backs today. All right. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to jump into a roundup today. I wanted to save some news that but came out over the weekend for this specific show because it revolves around our running back, Tony Pollard, right? So let's do it.
It's time! It's time! It's time! It's time! It's time! It is time for...
It's time for the morning roundup. Round 'em up, boys.
Hey, yo. Jeremy Fowler, who I actually, respect as an insider reporter or what have you in the NFL. He came out, I think Saturday, random spot there, but he came out either Sunday or Saturday, somewhere over the weekend, and kind of talked about Tony Pollard coming out and saying he's open to it. I don't know if he spoke to him specifically, his team, his agent, what have you. But here's the quote from the ESPN article from Jeremy Fowler. He says, quote, "He's in a situation, I'm told, where he's looking at this as a win-win because he's signed his franchise tag tender at the $10.1 million clip. He's coming off the ankle injury, so he's got the security regardless. But if the Cowboys want to step up and try to do a long-term deal, he's certainly open to that." Nothing moving on that yet, but there's a lot of time before the July 17th deadline. Certainly both sides are expected to reconvene and talk about a potential long-term deal. The Cowboys would love to get this cap hit down a little bit so they could sign some other players. End quote. So I did see one contract projection where they said something like 3 years between 27, 30 million with 15 million guaranteed. If it's a 3-year deal, we talked about this before. I say this all the time when it comes to contracts. There's funny money and then there's real money. There's funny years and there's real years. Any 3-year deal, I think, would be amazing if he was to agree to that, because you're really looking at like a 2-year deal. But I think the days of the Cowboys offering big money to running back, I think they're over, man. I think they're over. I think they reset the market with Zeke's contract, right? And they understood they probably dropped the ball on that, given no running back has since really reset it. Now, I know McCaffrey got paid, but I guess I got to throw McCaffrey in. I just look at McCaffrey a bit different. McCaffrey is one of those guys that can do the dual threat things. But even then, the consensus around the league is really not to go that high anymore. And I don't think the Cowboys are doing it. I don't think they're going to go from one contract like that with Zeke to another one and anything close to that. Like I don't think they're going to do a Zeke contract, but I don't think they're going to come close to a Zeke contract with the Tony Pollard. Now, Pat believes that something will be in the works and they'll get something done here. I'm going to err on the side of caution. I don't think they'll get a long-term deal done unless Tony Pollard is willing to kind of come down from his $10 million per year type of clip. Because, I mean, if I'm an agent, why not go into the negotiations starting at that price, right, per year? Unless the agent, the player, understands the market right now, which saw the running backs in free agency damn near, I mean, the guaranteed money. I think Tony Pollard got about the same amount of guaranteed money through these 3 and 4 year deals as a 1-year deal for Tony Pollard. So I don't think the league is going to ever get back to paying money. I shouldn't say ever. Things change. But these next few years, I don't think you'll see teams paying a lot of money to running backs. I don't see it. And you could say because of the Zeke thing, because of the Gurley, because of who's the Le'Veon Bell, right? There's a lot of running backs that got paid in that little pocket that it just never worked out. Bell, we saw what happened. Gurley lasted like 2 years and he was gone. Zeke got restructured. I think his restructure, he was like in the second year. Now he's gone. But that's just not the way of the league anymore. That doesn't mean don't go get your bag, players. That doesn't mean you should be upset that they're getting their bag. That's just the way the thing works. That's just the way it moves. And speaking of the way it moves, I gotta take a sip before this one because, boy, I did not know talking about Ezekiel Elliott would touch a nerve as much as it's touched a nerve. It is touched a nerve when you bring up Zeke's tenure here. I wonder if it's because people want to talk about a tribute to Zeke. People want to talk about what he once was. And there will be time for that, right? There will be time for that for sure. But I think when you talk about what he is, and if you can understand what he is right now, then you would understand people like me, not saying there's people that say some old crazy things, but people like me, you will completely understand what I'm talking about when it comes to Ezekiel Elliott. I'm telling no lies here. None when it comes in. As I stated last week, there is still a place for Zeke in this league, even if he's basically a shell of himself from his early seasons. There is the good Zeke. What he brought to the Cowboys last year. He may not be an elite player anymore, but he's an elite short yardage back. An elite goal line back. He had 10 touchdowns inside the 10 in 2022. I believe that was top 2 or 3 in the league, right? He can be a tone setter early in the season / games when he's healthy. We've seen him do that more often when he was early in his career, right? He's a dependable blocker and pass pro. We understand that. We should acknowledge that. And where he probably, and I caution myself when I say missed. But if I would say where would he be missed off the field, it could be the locker room. And the reason why I caution myself is because we've heard Coach McCarthy come out and talk about and praise the leadership that is Tony Pollard, what he's been able to do to step up. But I'd imagine he learned that from Ezekiel Elliott. You know, down at camp, you see Zeke working with TP in the backs. You know what he means in the locker room, right? Like, these are legitimate good things about what Ezekiel Elliott can bring to a team now, you know, or later, whatever, right? But you have to acknowledge also what he is when you're talking about the bad. And people don't ever want to acknowledge that, you know, he wears down as the season goes on. That's just facts. That's not me spewing anything random out. It's not. After week 6, over the last 3 seasons, he's averaged 3.5 yards per carry. That's not good, folks. Like, there's some people that thought his 3.8 was good. That's not, especially for a guy who's getting over 200 and something carries a season. Like, that's not good. Okay. And you can say, well, Sky keeps getting hurt. My point exactly. My point, man. He's a guy that got so many carries early in his career that this isn't a 22-year-old player now. This is a guy that's probably equivalent to a 30 given the touches. So when he gets banged up, it affects him differently. He understands that. This is why he talks about, you know, finally being okay with having a guy like TP take some carries. He understands that. And then by the time you get to the playoffs, he goes missing because he's worn down. Do y'all understand how bad he's been in the playoffs the last 4 games? We often talk about Kellen Moore, Mike McCarthy, the defense, Dak Prescott. Like, these are the guys we talk about when we talk about our playoff failures. Nobody brings up Zeke. Nobody brings up his performances in the playoffs. 2.3 yards per carry. He has not topped 3 yards per carry in the last 4 playoff games. He hasn't scored a touchdown in the last 3. I'm just supposed to ignore that? I can't ignore that. Yards after contact. The last 3 seasons have gone drastically down. 43rd, 43rd, and 35th. This is a guy who didn't finish outside the top 20 his first 4 seasons. Last 3, usually when you get contact, he might move forward, but it's a yard, you know? And there's times when you see some of that springy Zeke, usually when he's healthy. But 9 times out of 10, according to data, he's going to be banged up. That's just the nature of the position and a guy that has had a ton of carries on his body. And then, as we talked about before, there's the front office politics. You can't ignore that. It clearly came into play last year. For whatever reason, Malik Davis did not get a chance to be integrated in a committee approach in the regular season. Thus, by the time he got to the postseason, he wasn't integrated. And I don't know what happened, but when TP went out, they did not give Malik Davis a shot. When an offense that needed some pop, I think there was some sitting there and they decided not to go to him. I don't know what that was about. But when there's a 17-game season plus the playoffs and you got a guy who's a hurt, worn down guy, you should be looking, in my opinion, to be working in a third back in this situation. And the Cowboys didn't do it. So, yes, there are good things when it comes to Zeke. There are bad things when it comes to Zeke, but it's only fair that you acknowledge both of those when you're having this discussion. I don't even use the term washed and all this other stuff. I don't throw that stuff out there. I get it. Y'all can do that. That's fine. I'm not shaming you for it. You can call him what you want to call him. I'm just clearly providing context to the conversation when it comes to Ezekiel Elliott and why he's not on this team. But I didn't even bring up money. Right? Like, money is also a part of this thing, but just the actual production and the value he brings to your team late in the season and in the playoffs has drastically dropped, and you cannot ignore that. Now, with all of that said, you could argue, and we'll get into a couple of these players here in a second. You could argue that goal line thing, the short yardage thing, that is something the Cowboys do not have at this moment, and these guys have to prove it. And when I say these guys, I mean these guys right here. These guys have to prove to step up in that manner. You could argue, oh, well, let's just bring him back in that role. Fine. If you can bring him back, and like I said the other day, he going to get you what I say, about 6 to 11 carries tops as a goal line and short yardage, fine. But the days of him, in my opinion, being a lead back in a duo committee or a committee are gone. So I have no problem giving these other guys a shot to step up. And if that does not work out, then you investigate what's out there. And if it's Zeke, it's Zeke. He's out there as well. So now we go into camp looking to find a complimentary back to our new guy, TP. Because he's the lead dog now. I'm the captain now. And you hope they learn from their mistakes in the past by running a guy like Ezekiel Elliott into the ground and getting to the playoffs and trying to count on him, right? So let me say this, and let me say this clearly. In fact, I'm going to turn the music off for this. Make no mistake about this, Cowboys Nation. Pollard being a lead back, a featured back, does not and should not equate to being a workhorse back. I'll repeat that. Pollard being a lead back and a featured back does not and should not equate to being a workhorse back. Okay? I'm not asking for TP to get 25 to 27 touches a game. He's just the lead guy in the group. In my opinion, that's the best way that the Cowboys should approach this. So when you get to the playoffs or you get in these big spots, then you can give your best player to rock 20 plus times a game because you've got I got to win 3 games, right? But throughout a 17-game season, you do not want your running back to be touching the rock 375 times. 400 times, whatever it was Zeke was getting early in his career. You don't want that. So who steps up? We'll get to it, and we'll get into it here in a second. But for some odd reason, Toxic / All In Tom called in early. What you got for us today, Tom?
Good morning, Sky. And I'll just want to put this preface out there. If you're a Zeke fan, you might want to turn down your volume. There is no way in hell I would bring back Ezekiel Elliott. No way, no how. I don't want to see Zeke with his fupa running out there for a cloud of dust, and then just look at him play.
Sir.
And if he were a Philadelphia Eagle his whole career, would you want to bring Zeke back to this team? Hell no.
Hey, Toxic, you ordered something about that, because I feel like if he played for a rival team, you would definitely be saying some ish. But go ahead.
And it's funny because there's a lot of fans out there, and I get it, but y'all make more excuses like an ex that keeps cheating on you, and yet you keep thinking it's going to be different. It's not going to change. It has been proven that running backs, as they approach the age of 30, they start to decline. And Zeke made his money. It's not like that they paid him, $775 in a honey bun and tell him to go on his way. He made his money.
Yeah.
So he did his role. He looks like a running back that touched the ball around 2,000 times, and they went as Zeke did. And what did that get them? Nothing. So the idea of that we need Zeke and that he's the only guy on this earth that can do short yardage back, get off, either you're smoking rocks or you didn't get jersey insurance and you're pissed that you still want to hold on to it one more year. He's not good. And I'll say it for you, washed. He looks washed, he looks old, and he looks like a guy that the NFL is finally catching up to his style of play. That's it with Zeke. He can come back as Rowdy. Other than that, not interested. Not interested. Now, on to Tony Pollard.
Yeah, talk about
I love Tony Pollard. Liked him coming out of Memphis. However, I, again, would not extend him. And the reason being is, first off, I never would have given him the franchise tag to begin with. Secondly, the people who are doing the negotiating are awful when it comes to extending running backs, especially marquee ones, and not just Zeke, with Marion Barber as well. I do not trust the Crypt Keeper with Rosie O'Donnell leading negotiations that they're going to get a good deal. Your chance to do this with Tony Pollard was last year, not this year.
Yeah,
and
I agree. Very similar to Steele, right? Get in front of it. If you wanted to keep him, you should have. Toxic. How do you not see this? How do you not see that Tony Pollard was clearly the better back over the last 2.5 seasons? And if you really wanted to keep him around, you could have got him for a very, I think, reasonable price. Now you would have probably been paying a shit ton of money in that room. And let me be fair to Steven and them. Maybe it was the Zeke contract, and they said, hey, we cannot allocate over $20 million on a cap to the running back room. That could have been a possibility too.
I look at, and I think Landlord pointed this out, and if anyone hasn't listened to Landlord and the Track House, highly encourage it.
Yes.
He's brought this up before, and he's talked about Tony Pollard and allocating money, and I get the whole you want to lessen your cap hit for $10 million for a single running back. That is a lot to be allocating, period. However, I am not advocating to double down on that decision, because Tony Pollard is 26, and I forget where I read this, the biggest factor to a running back's decline is not necessarily the number of touches, but the age of the running back. Around 27 to 28, give or take, is when you start to see the gradual decline of a running back. And the general return on investment for a running back, more often than not, other than the Austin Eckler deal, which I think is an outlier.
Oh, you just wait. We're going to talk about that later.
It just generally doesn't work out. If you are so hell-bent on lowering your cap, you're talking about the wrong guy. Cough, cough, Dak Prescott, Trayvon Diggs, Terrence Steele. Those are the skill positions you need to get ahead of, because the market keeps on going up.
They already lowered Dak's cap, though. They're talking about lowering the cap now. There's no cap for Tony Pollard next year. The Dak Prescott cap is next year's talk. And then obviously Trayvon Diggs is not getting paid anything. He's getting paid pennies, so his cap hit is not an issue. So when Jeremy Fowler talked about the cap, they're talking about, if they can get that down. I know back in the day they used to. I think Tony's one time they gave him like so much money, it was like a $1 million cap hit. But they can get that down to like the $2 or $3 million range. Then maybe they use that $7 million to go sign a Trayvon Diggs or what have you. But that's kind of the cap talk they're talking about. Is right now 2023.
I think I would be more on board with that if they didn't already have $20+ million in their cap already right now.
Yeah.
And then this is like, it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't, because I get the logic by wanting to lower his cap hit, but it was off of an unwise decision to begin with. So to me, it's like, okay, we need to lower a cap hit for a guy that we shouldn't have franchise tagged probably to begin with. That just seems like you're doubling down on an already bad decision. And again, love Tony Pollard. I want him to get paid. I just want another team to pay him so we can look at this like we viewed DeMarco Murray. I remember fans were pissed that they passed on DeMarco Murray. It was the pragmatic, smart decision to do, and the rest was history. I'm not saying that he's DeMarco Murray, but I think if you view this as a running back by committee, invest in your offensive line, and then pay the harder to find skill positions is generally the blueprint.
The DeMarco Murray comp,
which
I have in my notes, is actually the Ezekiel Elliott situation, where I remember when it feels very similar. Where Zeke wasn't coming off of that year, but Zeke is still coming off of a productive year when you look at the total stats, right? A lot of people look at the total stats and not the context or the actual diving into it. You say, oh man, 800 yards, 12 touchdowns. What are we doing? We are going to suffer from this. It reminded me of the DeMarco Murray situation. And I get the offense line was different back then, but there still was a scheme situation to it that helped as well, nonetheless. We saw they brought in, who was it? Darren McFadden and Joseph Randall, Joseph Randall was a little cuckoo. But they actually had a productive running game. It wasn't the running game wasn't an issue when DeMarco Murray left. And I believe the same thing is going to happen here with Ezekiel Elliott. With Ezekiel Elliott gone, I don't think the Cowboys' running game is going to suffer. I actually think it's still going to be a pretty good running game. Obviously, barring injury, you don't want to suffer with the Ravens. What happened to them last year, where they lost everybody before training camp happened. But nonetheless, I actually comp the loss of Zeke to the loss of DeMarco, where the nation was going absolutely berserk and pissed off. He left, and they didn't want to pay him in the long run, though, or even in the short run. It was fine. You really didn't suffer. It was your quarterback issue that was the problem.
I agree. And I just view the whole situation, Zeke, Tony Pollard, as more wasted talent by the hapless Bush of the Jason Garrett era and his crappy disciples, that you had all this talent and you just ran them up the gut or just didn't play them. So I'm really happy that you have guys who, like Malik Davis, spoke out, and he's 100% correct about the politics of this all. And my last big fear is if they do extend Tony Pollard, does that same level of crony politics or corporate, crony, corporate, whatever you want to call it, does that extend to Tony Pollard now? And we're just right back to where we were with the front office making the call down on the sideline saying, well, we go as Tony goes. No,
I mean,
we don't.
Well, wait. Don't see Toxic. You pushing into a whole direction that I think that's a TBD. If Tony Pollard is Austin Eckler, Christian McCaffrey, who the hell was complaining about that? The reason why people were complaining is because, is there a Tony Pollard behind Tony Pollard? Not right now. But if Tony Pollard declining like Zeke was, not right now. So if that's the case, then we have the right to kind of scream, hey, get this guy the ball. But if Tony Pollard is performing at a high level, at an efficient level, at a top level, I don't think you really complain about, hey, we got to make sure this guy's featured each week in, week out. I think the reason why we were complaining was because, hey, you got a guy sitting behind the starter who is clearly better right now and giving the offense much more. Why are we not giving him the ball more? That was the issue, in my opinion.
I'll make this my last point because I know there's probably a lot of callers that want to call in. I guess what I'm hopeful for is that the Cowboys learn from past mistakes and view the rest of the NFL and look at the running back room and go, we have a great Tony Pollard guy, but if we can complement him and use a Malik Davis the Ryan Nall wannabe. If they have those guys, we can work them into the office and get away from that bell cow mentality that was relevant in the 90s. It's no longer relevant now for successful NFL teams. That is what I'm really hopeful that they do.
I agree.
But other than that, everyone have a lovely weekend, and got my Ryan Nall bid already in, so have a good day. Got your
Ryan Nall shot. Took a shot at my guy, Hunter Luepke. That's what I want to start off with, by the way. Hunter Luepke, fullback, tight end, H-back guy. I'm going to get through him real quick because we talked about Hunter Luepke a bunch over the last couple of weeks. I am including him in this State of the Unit address here because he is interesting. He's a guy that could factor in to this room and not in your traditional fullback role. I went back and looked at John Kuhn's usage, mostly from a receiving standpoint. And John Kuhn was averaging about 12 to 15 receptions a season out the backfield. You get Hunter Luepke to rock, 15 times and out the backfield. I'm pretty sure he could score some touchdowns for you, get some big first downs and whatnot. And this isn't a kid that they're just like, hey, we signed you to $200,000. You just going to sit in the back and observe. We'll cut you and hopefully get you through the practice squad. They're trying to incorporate him. He's been working with the first team per our girl, Aisha Morrison over at DallasCowboys.com. She let us know that. And we talked about that briefly with Patrick Nosey Walker. But Hunter Luepke, man, if he can provide that use check role, man, I would be so ecstatic and excited for this room because it is such a versatile chess piece offensively that you don't see in the league as much. That's why use check is use check, because there's not a bunch of him. But if he can be half of that, Cowboys got a good one on Luepke. But let's get to the actual running backs. And I want to start with the rook, Deuce Vaughn. If you guys remember, if I can find this here, we did a rating the draft series. And we talked about Deuce Vaughn's potential year one impact. And at that time, I put 4 stars for Deuce Vaughn. And I put satellite back / returner ? Now, Deuce Vaughn coming out is going to be one of the most productive backs you will have seen in the last decade. I mean, his accolades speak for itself. But he has a size thing, right? He's a little guy, and he even talked about being a little guy and it not really affecting him much. And Will McClay talked about a guy like him and what he can do. He says, quote, guys that can win in space and create their own space and do explosive things. Deuce has done that ever since he's been in high school and probably before that. So getting him and adding him as a weapon was a huge deal. Now back to that 4 stars. I'm actually going to have to knock that down to 3 because of the belief that Turpin is going to be the returner. Hearing it from Pat, listening to actually them incorporate Turpin on offense. If he's going to make this team, I don't know that Deuce Vaughn is going to be, so when I say Turpin's going to make this team, I don't know that Deuce Vaughn is going to take the return role from him. He would have to go out there, not only take it in practice and preseason, but then obviously get involved offensively too. So I'm going to scratch out returner, knock that down to 3. And the reason why I do think he'll still have a 3-star impact is because he can be a satellite back. When TP went down, Dallas didn't really have a guy in that nature. Now they do. And he's a guy that in college carried the load. So I'm not saying you want to give him 20 touches or whatever. But if there's a game where Deuce has to touch the ball 10, 11, 12 times, he's equipped to handle that. He's done it in college. So he's making this team, by the way. I mean, 6th-round pick, it doesn't matter. He's going to make this. He would absolutely have to bomb not to make this team. And I just find it hard to believe. This group doesn't give up on draft picks the same year they draft them. And neither should they when it comes in. I think Deuce Vaughn is extremely talented. One of the quickest cats in the draft, make you miss an open field. Yeah, he don't got the long speed. But again, when you're talking about a guy that's only going to probably get a handful of snaps a game or a handful of touches a game, you're likely talking about when teams are tired. So don't get it twisted. He's not a guy that's going to be trying to break one away on his 25th touch. He's a guy that's going to try to break one away on his fourth touch while you've already played 60 snaps. So I got Deuce Vaughn making this team for sure, which is really going to put a crunch on the rest of this roster. And given the nature of what he is, a satellite back, you could argue you got to carry two opposite guys if you're going to run with four, which that we'll see. We'll see if they run with four. It'll be a numbers game for sure. But Deuce Vaughn, man, really excited to see him kind of get going here in the offseason. And now let's talk about some of our, before I get to the phone, some of our returning guys. And I feel we have to bring up Rico Dowdle. His story, if you had to put one word to it, injury. That's pretty much been his entire career from college to the pros. He's just been an injured guy, unfortunately. And every time, he gives you something in camp and something in preseason to get excited about, boom, injury happens, whether it be early in the season or whether it be in preseason. And this isn't new. This is something that has followed him from South Carolina. Literally, every season, from freshman to senior, he dealt with something that kept him out of games. Whether it's a hernia surgery, broken leg, groin issues, ankle injuries. He's missed multiple games because of the injuries in college. Got to Dallas and you thought, okay, maybe that will go away in 2020. Then boom, 2021, suffered the hip injury. 2022, made the team, actually played 5 games primarily on special teams. And then he suffered an ankle injury that put him on IR. So he's another one of those tough spark plug runners, but I don't know if he can be trusted to be a part of a committee if he can't stay healthy. You know what I mean? Like that's what worries me about Rico Dowdle. He's going to do something that excites you. He's going to run hard in camp. He's going to have really good preseason games. He's going to be a tough guy in that room. But again, if I'm doing a committee approach, do I trust Rico to stay healthy? That's tough. So if you're going to carry a Rico Dowdle, you damn sure better have a guy on the practice squad that you're confident in being called up, or a guy on the roster that can kind of take over that role. And that role is not just, on the field as a running back, but it's also special teams, because he played a ton of special teams when he actually did play. So between Hunter Luepke, Deuce Vaughn, and Rico Dowdle, I think the shoo-ins there, maybe I should be cautious with shoo-in on Luepke, but I think he's going to make it. Luepke and Vaughn, 2 rookies, I think are going to be in this room, which makes it really difficult for the rest of these guys, and we'll get to it in a second. Let's get back on the horns for a few more calls. 808 Heartbreak was up next. You are live.
How you doing, brother? It's Sonny from Moy.
What's good, Sonny?
Hey, long time no talk, man. I wasn't able to catch the show the last couple of days, man. I wanted to wish you a happy Father's Day, although it be late.
Thank you, man. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Hey, I just wanted to look. When it comes to a lot of the players, I can be a real big critic, man. But I always make sure I don't sacrifice my football knowledge, and like I said, I don't want to be too much of that toxic fan. So I feel like the same people who are saying to bring back Zeke, it's also the same people who say cut DeMarcus Lawrence. I'm just all like, what are you guys on? I'm gonna be honest with you. Sometimes you got to make calls with your knowledge, right? You can't be too attached with your heart. That's what they're doing with Zeke. Because there are people out telling me, I was like, okay, what about your short yardage? I was like, you're telling me there's no other running back that can do short yardage. Is Zeke the best out of short yardage out of everybody? And is there nobody even close? I'm just like, come on, guys. You guys, like even when people say cut DeMarcus Lawrence and stuff like that, I always tell them, okay, so what's the alternative? I was like, okay, with Zeke, is there truly no alternatives? Is that what we're saying?
Yeah, no, there's obviously alternatives for sure. And again, that book ain't written yet. That story ain't over yet. He very well could possibly come back. But it's all about what role, right? Because he is, like, we talked about the good, right? Let me pull this up. We talked about the good with Ezekiel Elliott, and those last two things right there are what a lot of people lean on. You know, being a good blocker and being a good locker room leader. And obviously, he does the short yardage things very well. I think the leg up he would have on other guys is that he's been here. You know, he knows the offense for the most part. He hopefully would understand his role, et cetera, et cetera. So, you know, there's a place for him in this league, but it does not have to be here in Dallas. It really doesn't. And I still think you will be a good offense, in my opinion. If it is in Dallas, as long as politics don't play a role and as long as he's not in any part of featured back, then whatever. I'll have the conversation, but just let me know what else you explore, like in the sense of the front office. What else have we explored to make this team better?
Yeah. No, I get that in the sense that people, okay, if you're saying it will help, then it'll help. Like, I can agree to have that conversation. It's the fans that are saying, like, we can't survive without him.
Yeah, there is a lot of that. There is a lot of we have to and we won't do this because of that. And I'm just like, what do you mean, man? I just watched two teams in the Super Bowl that don't have a power back. You know what I'm saying? A lot of running. And look, let's be honest. All these dudes, whether it be Zeke or these running backs, a lot of this has to do with the front line and scheme as well. So if your offensive line can block it up and you got a good play caller, I think you can mitigate not having a, in my opinion, one-dimensional back.
In all honesty, the thing is, if I'm not saying Rojo's that guy and stuff like that in terms of like he's amazing or anything, but to be honest with you, if you're telling me all I need him to do is replicate what we lost from Zeke, that's easy enough. But honestly, I have a little bit more belief in Rojo than everybody else.
I do too.
Yeah. Well, I really want to see how Malik Davis plays out. And Deuce Vaughn, a lot of people are scared of his ceiling and stuff. I'm just like, he wasn't playing scrubs in college. He was in a big school, you know what I mean?
No, and he played well against Power 5 teams, you know. But he is he's not a guy that I don't think that you should be looking at as a primary ball carrier. He's kind of that second leg at best and then third leg in a committee approach. And that's cool. A guy that can get you like 5-6 touches, he can do some damage with a couple of those touches.
Yeah. And that's what we're asking for out of a committee and stuff. Just a whole bunch of guys to contribute. We don't need this big. We don't have a big Derrick Henry. I'm not saying that's who we need and stuff. But
as awesome as Derrick Henry is, bro, what have the Titans done leaning on Derrick Henry? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, he is an amazing player, but the league is not built for the Emmitt Smiths anymore, where you're just a sole guy getting 400 touches a season. Like, that's not how you win in this league anymore.
I got you. A bonus question real quick is that it's not to do with the topic. It's just being a Cowboys fan. What was your most enjoyable year in two ways? One, as an analyst, which you are, and like talking and stuff, and as a fan, being a Cowboys, watching the Cowboys. Your favorite year as a fan and your favorite year as an analyst. I
mean, I don't know about analysts because I've just started really being a legitimate, you know, putting on the different hats like 4 years ago. But contrary to popular belief, I am not 78 years old. But 2007 was fun. You know, when we won 13-3 and Tony Romo's first year, and it was just buck wild, man. And I remember the Bills game. So that was a fun season. Ended terribly, which all of our seasons in the last 30 years have ended. Ended terribly. But other than that, I mean, how can you not say a Super Bowl season? If you witnessed the Super Bowl, how I don't understand how you don't say a Super Bowl season. So I'm trying to stick within the non-Super Bowl years of the past 30 seasons, and I'm gonna go with 07.
I got you. 2014 is my favorite year, man. I felt like we got robbed and stuff. I don't want to get too much into that, but that was the day of, like, we said we was going to run it. You knew we were going to run it. You knew we were going to run it, and you couldn't do anything to stop it. But I'll let you go, big brother. You have a good day, man.
All right, man. Appreciate you, big dog. I just happened to look over there. Boy, are you wrong. Somebody said Derrick Henry don't got a line. He might have a line now. Derrick Henry, for sure, had one of the best offensive lines during his – and he still bought last year – But during those first like 3 or 4 years in Tennessee, they were routinely talked about as one of the best offensive lines in football. One of the best offensive line coaches over there. But yeah, Derrick Henry absolutely had a line. Yeah. Put him behind this line, dog. I'd argue their line over the last, 2 or 3 years ago, whatever. Last year they dealt with injuries or whatnot. It's better than the Cowboys' offensive line when it came to run blocking. Seriously, like they were a good run blocking team during the Tennessee Titans run, and I use that run because they really didn't have a crazy run. But this ain't that league no more, man. Workhorse backs like that. Look, man, it takes so much more than one guy as a running back to carry your team. You're going to need multiple backs, and that's why we're talking about these guys. And I'm going to jump around a little bit because he brought up Rojo. I'm with the caller. I personally think if Rojo still got something in the tank. It's weird to say that about a 25-year-old. I mean, it's not like Ronald Jones is some 28, 29-year-old dude coming off of so many carries or whatnot. Not at all. I think Ronald Jones is coming in here as an even more pissed off and angry runner, because that's what he is. He's an angry, violent runner who's likely going to be more angry and violent. This doesn't make Ronald Jones special. Not looking for Rojo to be special. Just looking for Rojo to fill a role that he's done before. Not new to him. Ronald Jones has been a part of a committee or a duo, whatever you want to call it, a tandem, and he did it well. He did it well with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 2020 and 2021. Hell, in 2020, he led the league in yards after contact. The year they won that Super Bowl. Those final 2 years in Tampa, he gave you, what was it, 10 rushing touchdowns inside the 10. So he was a guy that could sniff the end zone, and it wasn't like it was on a 75 carries. He's pretty efficient down there. And some people might actually look at his size coming out of college and think that's what he is now. It's actually not. He put on some weight early in his Tampa Bay Buccaneers career and bulked up, and you kind of see it in his size and his play style. He kind of plays. He looks like a big guy, but then when you get in the open field and you see him kind of move, you're like, oh, I see why, because he has that wiggle that he had coming out of USC. But I don't think Ronald Jones is going down without a fight at all. No, sir. No, sir. That doesn't mean he's going to make the team, but I think he's going to make it difficult in that room for sure. It's not like the room has Dalvin Cook in it behind Tony Pollard or Ezekiel Elliott for that matter. There are a bunch of hungry guys in there. And I don't know if there's a more hungry guy than that man who didn't fit. Let's just be honest. He did not fit in Kansas City. Honestly, I would look at that as a blessing if I was Ronald Jones, because he doesn't have a bunch of wear and tear on his body. I believe he's got something like 118 carries over the last 2 seasons. He's only 25 years old. Toxic brought up the whole age thing. He kind of still falls in that safe age group. And it's not like you're looking at Ronald Jones to be some long-term solution. You go to Rojo and say, hey, you bust your ass for 1 season. Maybe you can go somewhere and get a fairly solid contract next year to help you and your family. So Rojo, to me, I think he's going to come in here and he's going to make these guys work. And they asked Malik Davis about Ronald Jones and, being a veteran in the room. And he talked about how, he's obviously been around Super Bowl winning quarterbacks, been a part of a Super Bowl winning team, and it has helped in that locker room. So you actually got 2 guys in regards to Ronald Jones and Tony Pollard who are veterans on this team. One has just been a part of a tandem that's won a Super Bowl. I don't look at that as, I don't scoff at that. A lot of people scoff at his addition right now. I don't scoff at that. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. It doesn't hurt you. It's a 1-year cheap deal. But I think the upside far outweighs the downside of Ronald Jones. It's not like you signed him to a 3-year, $20-something million deal. It don't work out. It's a 1-year deal for a Super Bowl winning running back who is super hungry and pissed off and actually runs like that. Oh, I'll take that to camp and preseason all day and see what we can do. So I'm with you, caller. I think Ronald Jones is a guy to look out for at training camp that could maybe do some things for you. As for fumbling, Ronald Jones had 2 fumbles in his last full time as a player in 2020. And then prior to that, I think he had 2 and then 3. So the fumble thing, when I heard that, I went and looked and I'm like, damn, did this dude just like fumble a lot or something? And I looked, I'm like, I mean, pretty normal fumble rate for a running back here. I mean, we forget. Ezekiel Elliott was fumbling the rock a whole lot. He has like 3 seasons with 5 or more fumbles under his belt. Ronald Jones, his last time being a full-time guy, he had 2. I can live with that. I'm not tripping about that. It is what it is there. So if 2 fumbles are going to scare you off of Ronald Jones, then you don't sign him in the first place. Let's get back on the horns, man. Jake the Great, what you got, man?
Yo, Skywalker. Good morning.
Good morning.
What's happening? All right. Now, I'm going to get straight to the business, man. I see you hyping up Ronald Jones and he's running angry and this and that. If he was running so angry, Pistachio wouldn't be signing over him. So I ain't buying none of that stuff that you're talking about. Rika Dowdle, he's going to the practice squad. What's the other dude? Malik Davis, he's getting cut. And then if you're talking about a 1-year rental, bring back Zeke the Freak. Because I'm talking about we are close. I'm not thinking about no future. I'm not thinking about stopping no progress. I'm thinking about winning the championship.
Who brought up stopping progress?
We're close.
What are you talking about?
I mean, that's what people say with Zeke talking about stopping progress and stuff like that. I feel like we are there. We're at the door of a championship, and I'm from the hood. When we lose,
it sounds bitter.
We don't dismantle. We run it back, and that's what I want to do. If it's a 1-year rental, I want a 1-year rental from Zeke because I'm not looking at Zeke how everybody else is. Everybody else is looking at that last play for San Francisco where he lined up at center and he got
Let me
smacked.
stop you right there. Don't call into my show talking about everybody else. I'm the one that's talking about Ezekiel Elliott, this running back room. I don't care about who the hell. Have you ever heard me talk about progress stopper or Zeke playing center? I don't give a damn about that, Jake. I don't care about none of that. Let's talk real. Let's talk real ball. And then you come in here and you talk about I'm talking up. What you say? I'm hyping up.
I'm not hyping up Ronald Jones.
I am talking. See, that's the problem with y'all fans, man. Y'all don't listen. Y'all only want to hear what y'all want to hear. And that was the whole problem with Ezekiel Elliott. Y'all only hear what y'all want to hear. I quite literally said Ronald Jones might not make this team, but I'm giving you the facts of what Ronald Jones is and what he's coming off of. But you're so emotionally attached to Ezekiel Elliott, you ain't trying to hear nothing but bring Zeke back.
It's not that.
Jake, it is that, and that's okay. Just come on here and say, I stand for Zeke. I don't care about nothing else, and I'll let you have the floor. I digress.
Okay, I understand that. Now, if it was any other running back besides Ronald Jones, because you're saying he's coming off of a Super Bowl championship. No, he's not. Again, I didn't even bring that. I didn't even say he was coming off a Super Bowl championship, but he is a part of 2. He is a part of 2, but those words didn't come out of my mouth. This is what happens when people get emotional. I said he was a part of a Super Bowl championship team as a tandem back, and that was in 2020. That's what I'm talking about. I don't even acknowledge really his existence in Kansas City, except for the fact that he did not fit, right? Like I'm bringing that to the table. He wasn't a welcome fit in Kansas City. That's facts. I can't argue with you with that. But let's get back to the football side of things. All right. Do you believe that there is more dynamics that go with a football team more than what you see on the field? Like I'm just talking about like the impact in the locker room. Like I said, I just want to run it back one more year.
Oh boy!
Because
let me ask you a question. Like, were you here at the begining of the show?
Talk to me. No, I was not. I just seen that.
See. He wasn't here. You know,
I'm gonna be honest.
He wasn't here. Look. Let me pull this up for you. Let me pull this up for you, Jake. Because Jake, you must have came in this motherfucker when we was talking about Zeke. Yeah, because you said, "Oh hell no, they talking about my Zeke." So Jake, look, I started off the show talking about the good things that Ezekiel Elliott
brings to the team and could bring to a team. I talked about him being an elite short yardage back. I talked about him being a dependable pass blocker. A guy, when healthy and early in the season, can be a tone setter. I talked about his locker room leadership.
Right.
In fact, I prefaced it and said that might be the biggest thing the Cowboys actually miss. I don't think it's going to be his on-field ability. I think it could potentially be his locker room leadership. But I think, according to McCarthy, Tony Pollard has stepped up in that manner, and I think it's because Tony might have learned it from Ezekiel Elliott, Jake. So we did not just talk about the bad things when it came to Ezekiel Elliott. We talked about the good. I'm just asking you to take. Look, I know you stand for Zeke, and I knew this was going to be a tough conversation for those that stand. But if you can just take off that emotion for a second, I think you will completely understand the good and the bad of Ezekiel Elliott.
Now, when the season starts, and then Zeke is here and he's not, the show must go on. Like I said, I'm really for just running them back with a little bit of sprinkle of somebody else like a Deuce with them. You know what I'm saying? I'm not all like, oh, give Zeke the ball, this, that. Heck no. I know this is Tony Pollard's year, and this is Tony Pollard's team. I just feel like with those two running backs, we had almost 2,000 yards rushing. It wasn't really broken. You know, I'm looking at the guy from the 6 weeks before, prior to the knee injury. I just want to run him back with the team we have.
So what this is a good thing I'm actually talking to a Zeke stand, because are you not concerned about the 3-year pattern of what happens after week 6? Because again, I don't know if you were here at the beginning of the show, but after week 6 for the last 3 years, he's averaged 3.5 yards per carry. And in the playoffs, he gives you nothing. Over the last 4 games in the playoffs, he has not even cracked 3 yards per carry. And he has 0 touchdowns in the last 3 games. Like, does that not concern you?
It concerns me, right? And honestly, it does concern me. That's why I say I would add a little bit of sprinkle, a third back. Because I look at it like how, you remember when Pittsburgh won the Super Bowl, they had Willie Parker, Jerome Bettis, and they had another dude. I don't know if it was Mendenhall. They had 3 running backs. And that's how I want to use it. I don't want Zeke I'd rather have Zeke like maybe 6 carries a game. I just want him if he's going to hype up the crowd or whatever, because I've been to a Texas game, and it might sound funny. I know. But I believe in the momentum. If he can just give me one play for the season or the playoff, I'm cool with it. I'm all about team running back. I ain't about dismantling nothing. Give me a 1-year rental. If he's here, it's cool. If he's not, we're going to run it. But that's my stance.
Gotcha.
Team Zeke all day. Let's go Cowboys.
All right, Jake. Yeah, I mean, that's going to happen. You're going to get people, and I always have to understand that now as what I do. Like, we're fans, and we're definitely fans of players. People ain't trying to hear shit. Bring Zeke back. I don't give a damn what y'all talking about. I'll give him 1 carry a game. Bring Zeke back. What are we talking about here? 1 carry. Wave his towel. Do the eat. 1 carry. Hey, man, I get it. That's your guy. That's your guy. Bring him back for 6 games. Again, there's a place in this league for Zeke. As in my opinion, a short yardage type of goal line type of spell a guy here and there type of back. As a lead dog, even as a second guy getting 15 totes a game, I don't think that's best for him. And I think we've said this a million times. If you want to bring him back to be that guy, 6 carries a game, whatever. But don't get mad because I'm bringing actual factuals to the conversation, man. Just before you say anything, just tell me before we talk. If you on the phone and you want to talk about Zeke, I stand for Zeke, and I'll let you have the floor, and we can move on after the conversation. Because when people stand, they don't want to hear nothing else, and I'm not going to have a conversation if you don't want to hear nothing else. You dig? Let's get D-Sean on the horn. What's good, man?
Oh. What else, guy? So before we start talking, I'm in the middle, so I'm not.
I thought you were standing. I had to put up the sign for you. I stand.
No. I'll say the one good thing that Zeke did well was the short yards, like 3rd and 1, the goal line stuff. That's important to me. But at the same time, that wear and tear, that's not going away. Like as much contact and as much things. If you all really look back on the 49er game, they didn't trust Zeke. They just threw him out there to say, okay, just go. And your question to the Malik Davis answer, shout out to like one of the final word and everything. I think Brian Broaddus was talking about Malik Davis. He said the reason why they didn't put him in that game was because he was fussing and he was mad that he couldn't get any playing time.
Yeah, we brought that up. We brought that up last week or 2 weeks ago when the clip was going around about Broaddus saying that, and apparently Malik or his teammate or somebody came out and said he didn't say that. So that's why I don't like to bring up the he say she say when the player responds to it. So I kind of left that kind of drama-y stuff out of it because honestly the issue was far before San Francisco, right? Like when Zeke was out and Malik Davis was a part was a part of playing. Malik Davis showed you enough to say, hey, we should probably get him involved as a third leg. Then all of a sudden, Zeke comes back after injury and Malik Davis gets washed out and we get to the playoffs and nothing happens. So I think the issues festered far before we got to San Francisco.
Yeah. And I think me personally, Kellen Moore just didn't know what to do with him. He didn't know how to use him. So I think that's what it came down to, that he didn't know how to use running back properly. Now, in the Tony Pollard situation, me personally, I was very upset because Tony said he doesn't mind working the deal for cheaper. And so instead of just automatically franchise tagging them, they could have got a better deal than what they're doing because now you're paying $10 million that you didn't have to pay. Now, I know this might be our only year with him, which I'm cool with that. But like I said, in financially speaking, or if you want to be Cowboy talking, he could have paid lesser and had more years, and you wouldn't have to worry about the running back problem after this year.
Yeah, it was when the market got put out for the running backs, right? I was definitely one of those that said, "Damn, I wonder if Dallas said, shit, we shouldn't have did this," because nobody was getting paid $10 million a year. I know Pollard's a bit different because I believe he's an elite dual threat guy. I believe he's a guy that can run the ball at a high level and catch the ball at the backfield at a high level. We'll get to him in a second. But I still don't know if that was going to garner $10 million a year. So I think you're right. They might have been able to get him to a deal similar to David Montgomery. Might have. I don't know. Pro Bowl is on his roster, but it was a tricky game they played, and some will argue they played wrong.
And then with Rico, I agree because they said Rico actually beat out Malik, but it was an injury issue. Like, if you keep getting injured and you can't stay on the field, then you really can't do nothing with that. You really can't.
Can't.
And then the Luepke, I'm excited for him because I think that what a lot of Zeke fans talk about now is the short yardage. If Luepke can get you some short yardage, like 3rd and 1, when the goal line package is hammering off the ball, he gets you like a first down. If he can do them little type of things, then you won't have to be like, I need Zeke. And because all I've been hearing is Brian's scheme, which is he's like a zone type person, so you need a full power back. You need someone who can, bang with the best of them. But at the same time, I feel like we're going now away from power backs because power backs are cool, but sometimes you need that splash play. You need that person that can go out there and get you explosive yards because
there's nothing wrong with a power back who is extremely efficient or really damn good, right? Like that can do more than just a power back. But if you're just solely a power back, then there's a specific role you have to fit in. That's just life of a running back.
I agree. And so I think running backs it's starting to come to where now we're getting to a point where you need multiple backs. You can't just throw one back up there and say, give out the carries. Because I guarantee you, Derrick Henry probably wants some help right now in that running back room.
Here's the thing. We ain't really going to know much until preseason. Because even in training camp, it's a lot of thudding. They don't really hit. It's mostly thudding. And you start to see guys kind of pop in preseason. That's where we saw Malik Davis really pop in preseason.
I agree. So, all right, Dan. Nice talking to you, Kyle.
I appreciate you, Deshaun. Landlord dropped super chat. He said, "What's happening?" No. What's happening, Sky? And Bomb Squad, I got a long way to be as patient as Sky. I would have lost it when he said Malik getting cut. He is wild. Landlord, listen, brother, I have really worked on my patience since I started doing this full time. For those that have been here since day one, they can attest to this. I've learned that look, I want people to call in here and they don't agree, right? We can have these conversations, but sometimes when you get pushed to the whole I trade Michael Parsons thing, and then you just lose it. Other times, like Jake just, that's his guy. That's Zeke. I understand that. But I don't like people putting words in my mouth. And listen, and if y'all gonna listen. All right, that's all I ask. And we can talk about it. But I appreciate you, landlord, dropping that.
Super chat.
Brother L dropped one and said, just because Toxic Tom is on fire, hashtag Harlem Heat. Yes, sir. And then Chris.
Super chat.
I'm on the right date. I got a couple. Chris dropped one and said, Sam Williams breaking out unlocks this defense. Yeah, Chris was talking about the other day. Yeah, man. I had to drop the Harlem Heat shirt today, Danny. I had to. Listen, Linda, listen. That's all I'm saying, man. Nah, I don't got the Black Forces on or the do-rag. I'm going to let people get it out, and I'll rebut. That's all. All right, let me finish this thing up here with Malik Davis. We've been talking about him a little bit here. Not finish it up with Malik Davis, but finish up the backups with Malik Davis. We've been talking about it here briefly, and we talked about him the other day. Malik Davis feels like the consensus number 2 when you gauge in the temperature from around Cowboys Nation. And again, I said this when we had asked the question. Is it out of the question to think he can be RB2? I don't think so. There's a lot of rumors floating around with him, head case, immature, this and that, or what have you. I don't know the guy personally. I have not talked to people close to him. I know what Brian Broaddus said about him being pissed off. And if that is true, then I don't blame him for being pissed off. I even heard somebody and saw somebody in the chat say he don't know the playbook, or Tony didn't know. There's a lot of random things said about players that, unless you are close to those players like that or speak to people close to them, I don't know where you're coming up with this. But all I do know is when Malik Davis got a shot out there, Malik Davis was a pretty damn productive running back. And I wouldn't have minded him to be a part of the third leg in the committee last year, but it never really happened. And that was unfortunate. So we'll see what happens with Malik Davis moving forward. But I'm not writing Malik Davis off by any means. I think he can absolutely make things tough. And that's the beauty of this room, right? Is that you're going to have extreme competition from RB2 on down. Extreme competition. A lot of hungry dudes. I talked about Rojo being one of the hungriest guys in that room due to, what happened to him last year. You could argue Malik too. Malik is just as hungry. Now, he ain't got a lot of skins on the wall like Rojo, but he felt, and I don't blame him if it's true, that he deserved more touches. I agree. And then you got the lead dog. Finally, Tony Pollard is the lead dog. And I will reiterate this one more time for the people in the back. Just because Tony Pollard is the lead back, the featured back, does not and should not equate to him being a workhorse back. No, sir. That's not what I'm asking. But damn it, you better give him the rock. He should never, ever not see at least 15 touches. And that's bare damn minimum, right? Like, he should really be closer to like 18 touches a game. But if you start getting him into 25, 26 touch range every week, that I don't like that, because I want Tony Pollard and the rest of these guys to be ready to roll in the playoffs, when then you could turn to TP and say, hey, dog, 3 games. I need you at 20 touches minimum, 3 games, because you are our best guy. That's all. And don't get it twisted, man. Teams understood the assignment last year when it came to Tony Pollard, right? A lot of people used to talk about Tony Pollard don't face stacked boxes early in his career. Fair, whatever. But last year, he actually was 10th in the NFL against stacked boxes. Or facing stacked boxes. Not against, but facing them. Okay? And a lot of people are worried about, well, can Tony Pollard be a lead guy long term for a full season? Fair question. They didn't ask him to be the lead guy all season. But when he was the lead guy over the last couple of seasons, when Zeke was out with injury, all he did was produce. We know about the San Fran game, 18 touches, 132 yards. He had 2 touchdowns in that game. Talking about in 2020. And then last year, he had 2 games where he was the lead dog. 15 touches, 147 yards, and 3 touchdowns in one game. Another game, 25 touches, 128 yards, and a touchdown in that game. All he has been is super productive when he gets the rock at least 12 to 15 times. And the beauty of Tony Pollard is that you can bottle him up. You can, oh, you know what? 6 carries, he only got, okay. All it take is one. All it take is one to either bust a big game and make the defense have to think twice, or take one to the crib. And that was always my problem over the last number of years. When you saw Zeke wearing down, when you saw the running game struggle, why not put the ball in a guy's hand who all it takes is one? Give him more opportunities. Well, now he's going to be the lead dog. Well, Scott, he can't run between the tackles. False. He averaged 5.3 yards between the tackles last year. Now, where I would like to see Tony Pollard get more involved this upcoming season is in the pass game. It was kind of criminal his first 4 seasons that they did not use him a la Austin Eckler or Alvin Kamara. Last year, he was 3rd in the NFL in yards per reception, 7th in yak yards per reception. He is every bit. He has every ability in the world is an Austin Eckler or Alvin Kamara, especially when it comes to the passing game. And honestly, that's who I think he can be comped to as the lead dog. And by the way, Austin Eckler, I don't know if y'all follow the NFL outside of Cowboys, but y'all remember when Melvin Gordon left? The same questions were being asked about Austin Eckler. Oh, he's too small. He can't handle the lead back role. No, we can't do that. Well, all they have done is manage to utilize Eckler as a lead back, and he's been one of the best running backs in the National Football League since. In fact, they managed it right. He didn't crack 300 touches until last season, which was his first time cracking the top 7 in total touches. Over the last couple of seasons, Austin Eckler has had about 200 carries and ridiculous 107 receptions. I'm not asking for Tony Pollard to get 100 receptions, but he's been north of 70 receptions the last 2 years. I think it's very fair to see or say Tony Pollard should be used in that manner. A guy who can get you about 200 carries and at least 50 to 60 receptions. If you're not targeting Tony Pollard at least 75 times in the passing game, you're not using him to the best of your ability. You're hampering yourself. So I would like to see them get him more involved. And, looking back at Schottenheimer and McCarthy's history, McCarthy early in his tenure in Green Bay, they did throw the rock to the running backs a bit more, as opposed to once Rodgers took over, they really didn't target the running backs as much. But he is a super West Coast guy. And in the West Coast offense, they do believe in obviously touchdown or check down, but I don't want it to just be touchdown, check down. I actually want them to say more like how Tom does it sometimes, where, hey, look, I got a one-on-one with, and look, he was doing this with Ronald Jones and Leonard Fournette, by the way. Leonard Fournette, if y'all don't remember, is one of the best pass catching backs production wise over the last couple of seasons. Because Tom was like, why would I make this more difficult if I can throw it to you right here? You gonna get me some yak. That's how I feel about Tony Pollard. Like, don't make this a difficult thing here. If he's got a one-on-one against a linebacker, that is a mismatch. Put the ball in his damn hands. So I'm hoping that they feature him a little bit more from a pass catching standpoint. From a running standpoint, TP is going to be TP. I don't think you got to do too many things differently from a run game standpoint. He can do it all, in my opinion, from a running back standpoint. Is he going to move the pile? Nah, but TP going to run hard. He's going to get you first downs, touchdowns. He's going to break big gains. That's what he does. Get him involved in the open field from a pass catching standpoint, though. So there you have it, man. our State of the Unit address, diving into each and every one of these guys. And it's going to be a hell of a competition behind Tony Pollard. I'm excited for it, man. I really am. Between Ronald Jones, Malik Davis, Rico Dowdle, I think Vaughn is making this team, but and then Hunter Luepke. I'm excited to see how these guys are lined up, specifically Deuce Vaughn as a satellite guy, Hunter Luepke as a H-back fullback. All right, let's jump back to the phone lines for a couple more, man. We got Marcus on the line. What's good, Marcus? Mark.
That's me.
What's up, man?
What it do? Hey, it's God, man. Hey, this your show, man. Put your foot down, man. Put your foot down.
Sometimes
I
got to, man.
You put it up.
Sometimes I got to, dog.
Man, hey, I ain't mad at you. I'm not mad at you. Hey, like I said, I love Zeke, man. And one of the things that probably needs to happen, just not to stay here too long on this, but one of the things that needs to happen, at least from a fan base perspective, is that we all need to get used to the idea that all of us that are emotionally attached to Zeke, we got to get used to the fact that he's not here. Because if he's on this team this upcoming season, whatever happens that he finds his way back on the team, it's just going to be another schism. I don't think it would be with the coaching staff. I think they've already made their mind up. We can find ways to play with him. We don't need Zeke back. But you put him back on this team, that's going to be more opportunity for Jerry to get involved and mess things up. The fan base would be what it is. That's just in the way. That's in the way. If Zeke were to be gone and to come back next season, I think that would be fine because we all would get used to the idea of Zeke, being in whatever role we did. In spite of whatever Zeke said last season and what he's saying now, I think everybody needs to have that balance clear.
I think you said it perfectly. I don't think it'd be a schism within the locker room in itself because he's a locker room leader, as we talked about. But I would not trust the top guys to not be involved. I just don't.
Exactly.
Now, obviously, sometimes you just got to jump and blindly hope that somebody catches you. And that may be the case if he's brought back. But I do worry that hey, man, we got him back. He's wearing the 15. These jerseys are selling like hotcakes. He comes down there and says we need to get him 15 touches again. And if that's the case, I don't think that's conducive for Zeke or this team moving forward because he wears down. Those are just the facts.
That's just the facts, exactly. And again, that's going to take care of itself. But that might be good for everybody, including Zeke, so that everybody can adjust to this new reality. But as it pertains to the running backs in particular, man, I'm kind of interested in seeing what happens in training camp, only from the standpoint of I'm big on putting weapons on the field.
Yeah.
Tony Pollard, of course, is a weapon. He's a dual threat. I think one is Tony Pollard's case. We might all need to adjust our thinking about what a quote-unquote workhorse back is, particularly as it relates to Pollard. I don't see a problem with him getting 25 touches and you specify touches, and that's the thing. It's how you use Tony and how you deploy him. I could see a play sheet, a game plan where they've got a 25 plays for Tony Pollard, and he's probably only got 8 carries in there. But he's deployed in other ways if you've got him the football other ways. So that it turns into a 25-play, 25-touch game. That I would love because you want players that can dictate to defenses how they're going to play. And I would love to have a 2-back set with Tony Pollard, even if that means taking a wide receiver off the field for a lot of this play. Because right now, you could almost say Tony Pollard is as good as Michael Gallup until we see if Michael Gallup's back from his knee. You kind of split the hairs as far as I'm concerned. I just like the idea of the versatility that you could have potentially with the Tony Pollard, especially with West Coast concepts, where you kind of feature the running back in the passing game, like
yes.
So I'd like to see how mature and how, because it's not checkup no more. That workhorse running back thing we talking about, that's a lot of tradition and history here, particularly with the Cowboys. That's what we got here. That's what we're used to. But we're not playing checkers no more, man. Hey, anybody we got somebody we can turn around and hand the football to 25 times.
Well,
so, man, do we have weapons?
I equate it to this, Marcus. I don't believe you ever want to go into the game nowadays saying I have to give this running back 25 carry or touches a game. I don't really want that, especially if you're a team that has playoff aspirations because they can wear down. It's tough.
Right.
But I will say this. There are going to be big spots. And I think we brought this up last year when we had this conversation. There are going to be swing games. There are going to be playoff moments. There are going to be times where, hey, we got to have this. We're 6-1. The Eagles are 5-2. If we get this victory, we'll be 2 games up in the playoffs. I'm going to need you today, Tony. I'm going to need about 20, 25 out of you today, Tony. I might even need 27, 28, Tony, right? And then the next few weeks, it goes back to kind of being a committee approach or what have you. Or you get into the divisional game. You get into a championship game or whatever, and you say, hey, this is the playoffs, Tony. I'm going to need 25 today, brother. But it doesn't have to be every single week. It can be in spots throughout the season. Or if the game flow goes that way, I'm with you. The game flow just goes that way. But you want to definitely make sure you're not overworking your lead guy if you got capable guys behind him.
Right, I got you. Hey, no argument for me there. I think, again, you establish the identity around your best player. And even when I'm saying touches, I guess in my mind, if the threat of Tony Pollard is enough, it's consistent enough, like we say, Tony should be the lead guy, and there's no reason for him, in most situations, for him to not be on the field. That forces the defense to have to account for him.
Yeah.
Whether you give him the football or not, you know, and that's what I like. Even if he's on the field, that counts as a play that you have to account for Tony Pollard on the defensive end of the field. To me, it's chess again. Can you get cats moved around? Can you get somebody out of position? Can you get a mismatch? Who can force that? You got a couple of guys that can do that. C.D. Lamb can do that. Brandon Cooks is going to make sure safety stay out of the box.
Yeah, we had a name for
people going to figure that out.
I can't remember
that out. People
explosives. I think we called them explosives.
So, man, I'm just excited. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just excited to see what that's going to be like. I'd love to see them go to a 2-back set. Especially if they don't, if nobody kind of.
But Marcus, the 2-back set, the 21, it might be in the form of Hunter Luepke.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it might be in that form.
That's fine with me. Luepke, he's not like a typical fullback where he's going to be a guy that you just power into the line and he's going to block a lot of people. I've heard that he doesn't block very well and things like that. But he's a versatile enough guy where I think you can get away with a 2 tight end look with him, where you got 2 running backs out there, and you can still have 2 wide receivers. You can create balance and also mismatches, things like that. So you want a Tony Pollard and you want a power guy out there. So again, this is about chess, and I think we got some thinkers on that offensive side that are more about chess than chess. So that's what I'm anxious to see. And trust me, man, hey, we'll all get over Tony Romo. Ezekiel Elliott. We'll all get over it. People thought they weren't going to get over Dez leaving, and we did. So
some people
we'll keep it pushing, man. Thank you for taking my call, dog.
Absolutely, Mark. Salute. Good stuff.
Yes,
it happens to all of former greats, man. They're no longer on the team or what have you. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. All right, let's get a couple more here. Good stuff from Marcus. Marco. What's good, Marco?
What's up, Sid? How you doing, my brother?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
Hey, still, I'm good. I'm blessed, man, out here getting some chicken. But I want to say to all the Cowboy fans, the disrespect for Michael Gallup is crazy.
Man, look,
crazy. I can't.
Hey, look, let me say this about MG because look, y'all know me. I don't have a problem. I'll come out whatever. I've definitely talked about him not being good last year, but I found myself having to defend Michael Gallup this offseason because I'm like, wait a damn minute now. Like he had an ACL injury. If he comes back from the ACL injury, he'll be fine. If he doesn't, then he doesn't. But what are we talking about here? We acting like Michael Gallup wasn't a solid contributor to this offense prior to that.
Hey, still, my man just said that he wants TP to catch the passes over Gallup. Man, you all right, bro? I'm starting to not like my Cowboy fans, man. Hey, but still, I was listening to the conversation earlier, bro.
Yeah.
And I know how everybody feel about Zeke, but all right, let's say we cut Zeke, but I'm trying to figure out why we holding on to Tyron Smith and people like that. I don't understand. Because I feel like his play going down just as bad as Zeke's play was going down.
Marco, I'm another one of those dudes who, if you remember at the beginning of the offseason, I wanted to move on. I said I cannot count on him. The only way I was fine with bringing him back was as a swing type of guy, and that kind of annoys me a bit that we're kind of counting on Tyron Smith. So
I feel that's why my argument be, well, like I feel like they held on to Witten a couple years too long.
Oh, hell
I
yeah.
feel like,
they brought Witten back.
Zeke.
Like, what the hell was that about?
That's a bunch of disrespect too. I feel like, man, we don't need Zeke, but though that's not act like we don't got players on this team that's not on the downfall too. Like, we got players that we counting on this year that's way older than Zeke that look the same. He looks stiff to me just like Zeke. Thomas Smith looks just as stiff to me.
I will not argue with you. I thought both of those guys, that was their last year. You know, when it came to contracts, it came to play, and it came to injuries, I just thought there's no way they're going to bring both back. But they brought back Tyron Smith, man.
Hey, Phil, I don't think we have a problem with running back. We're not worried about running back. I ain't going to lie to you, Phil. I was watching the game back about a couple of weeks back, the playoff game, and I hate to bring it up, man. My quarterback got to play better, bro.
Oh, don't hate to bring it up. Don't hate to bring it up. That's facts.
Hey, Phil, I just saw, like, I can't keep watching these plays, man. I know they say Michael Gallup supposed to come back to a ball, bro, but I mean.
Oh, no, that one was bad. That one was bad. That one was bad from all. Let me tell you how that was a three-way bad situation. Number one, the play design was absolutely stupid. Number one. Number two, when you have those kind of comeback routes that are mirrored that way, and this is my problem with mirrored routes. I have a clip that I pulled up when I was looking at film from the Colts game. I'm like, this mirror route's pissing me off. But the problem with mirror route, I'm gonna pull it up. You're gonna keep talking there. The problem with mirrored routes is if you come back to the other side of the field and both of the receivers are running the same depth, it's likely you're going to be late on that. That's just a fact, especially when it's a comeback. And then you compound it with the shit that Michael Gallup ran. It looked very similar to the Colts game. So you've got a shitty design. You got Dak coming back late and throwing late. And then you got Michael Gallup. I don't know what the hell that was at the top of the route. Just checkmate of shit. And so that one was terrible. But the worst one to me was Michael Gallup on the deep throw, and he's kind of fading to the left, and he didn't get it out there enough and towards the end of the game. That was the one that kind of pissed me off the most.
And still, you know, I'm a diehard Cowboys fan, man. But I tell these guys, like, hey, bro, tell your ACL it's gonna take you 2 years to come back to play at the highest level. It's gonna take you time. Like, and I can't wait until if Pollard don't perform. I can't wait until what they. I mean, I gotta tell TP, if you're not 100% healthy, the Cowboys gonna kill you this year. They gonna talk dirty about you. I don't care. They don't care if you rush for 2,000 yards the year before. They gonna tell you, I don't care if you hurt. You gotta perform. Now I just don't. I mean, when players get hurt, they get hurt, bro.
But that's fact. I mean, you know, people say, you know, and shout out to my guy Koye because he makes a good point where he brings up, you know, don't play hurt for the Cowboys because this and that and that and this. But that's probably everybody, everywhere. If you're out there and you're playing hurt and it's actually hurting the team, I don't know a single person that's going to be like, hey, great job. Like, yeah, you're a warrior, but if it's not helping the team, that's an issue.
Hey, what did my man say? And I think Zeke played a lot hurt, but what did my man Byron Jones say? What Byron Jones say? Byron Jones said he can't even run or jump no more because of the NFL. All the shots he was taking just to play in the game. And I just feel like, man, we can't talk bad about our boy Zeke. We love our boy Zeke, but we don't need him back. But though we got some guys we need to be sending home with him today. If we can make the cut today, we got to start restricting. Hey, still, that's why I wanted in the draft.
You talking about Tyron?
That's why I wanted a guard.
It's too late now.
Guard and a tackle.
You can't cut Tyron now.
Hey, still, that's why you don't draft a tight end. You draft a guard because that guard getting a little longer in the tooth. He's getting a little longer in the tooth.
Hey, Marco, look, you preaching to the gospel from February, right? When we were having these conversations, but we can't. It's spilt milk, man. We can't cry over it now. It's here. We just got to figure out how to get to it.
I hate it, still, man. I appreciate you, still, brother. I'm listening, man. I'm out here working, getting some chicken, but I appreciate you, brother. I'm listening to the rest of it. Appreciate you, still.
All right, Marco, salute. This is the play I was talking about. I went back and watched this game because I just wanted to see us against some top rushing defenses, right? Cincinnati game and this game. Those two teams finished well in rush defense. And this play just pissed me off, man. Again, mirrored routes on the outside. All curls, basically, is what it is. But you can't see my mouse. But on the inside of CD Lamb is Dalton Schultz running a curl. And not even 5 yards opposite of him is CeeDee Lamb running a curl. You want to guess what happened here? You want to guess? Both defenders are just in that area, in that zone, and there's a tip pass. Like, in what world is this helping anybody out? And now I really don't like to bring up curls because curls are going to happen, but there were concepts that were mirrored or flawed concepts in the passing game that didn't stretch the defense, that didn't pull a safety out or take a line constantly when watching film. And I'm like, what is the plan here? What is the purpose of this route or of this concept? And that's something that you heard Dak bring up, right? Like, this is my clear out guy. I need you to do this so that we can get that. Like, there was just never a rhyme or reason consistently. But this one pissed me off. It pissed me off, so I didn't think I was going to bring it up today. I knew some point in time I was going to bring this thing up, but I didn't think it was going to be today. But interesting that he had brought that up. But it was stuff like that just pissed me off. Nah, Miss Jackie, it wasn't a pick. It was a tip ball. But what I mean is it brought the linebackers into the equation. And I'm hoping with this new thought process here where it's check down or touchdown situation. And it felt like last year, Dak was like, through hell or high water, I'm going to try to make this work. As opposed to saying, all right, I'm going to let y'all dilly-dally in the middle. I'm going to just dump it off here. Which goes against everything y'all wanted him to do because it was Dink and Dak. Y'all hated it. Now it's, we want you to do more of it. Nonetheless, I don't think the reads ever went touchdown, check down. It was always, and especially in a number system like this, top to bottom, and then if it's not there, check it down. Or in regards to Kellen Moore's scheme, which is this, I'm telling y'all, man, I hope for Herbert's sake he has an amazing year. But there really wasn't those type of reads where it was a high-low read. He did have some cool high-low concepts. I talk about the one where they motioned CeeDee Lamb over to create a 2x2 set, and they used Dalton Schultz. This is where you get a good concept to stretch the safety, and now you got one-on-one with CeeDee Lamb. It just wasn't done enough. And it was more of those type of things that you saw where it was like, what are we doing? And then you say, Dak, what are we doing? Why don't screw that? Tuck it and run or dump it off or something like that. And it is what it is, though. I digress. All right, we get one more in here. 478. What it is, what it do?
Yeah, this is Nathan.
What's good, Nathan?
Yeah, so I was just looking over the Hunter Luepke stats versus Daryl Johnston. Had just watched the Daryl Johnston 95 game against the Broncos. They used him so well with all the coverage attention that went to other offensive weapons. Hunter Luepke is the same kind of guy. He would get. I'm comparing the stats here in college. Daryl Johnston had 4.9.
Yeah.
Hunter had 6 yards per rush in comparison. You look at the receiving stats, 10.5 for Daryl Johnston in college, 13 per catch for Hunter. And then you go to scrimmage yards, you're looking between 5.5 per touch and almost 7 yards per touch with Hunter Luepke. So can you talk me off the ledge? Why is Hunter Luepke not Daryl Johnston comparable?
Because
he's so impressive.
They call Daryl Johnson Moose for a reason. Moose will blow it up. You know, he was opening up holes, whether it be on the inside, outside, counters, whatever. He was wearing neck brace, dipping my head. I'm risking my life for Emmitt Smith. He was your traditional fullback. That's primary role was to open up holes for him. Whereas Hunter Luepke is kind of more your quasi H-back, more Kyle Juszczyk. Can tote the ball at a high rate, catch the ball out the backfield, which Moose did that. Moose absolutely caught a lot of passes. And his blocking wasn't his blocking prowess that has him on the radar. It's kind of him being a versatile guy. So I do think they're different. I think he's more Kyle Juszczyk. Moose Johnson, man, I don't even know if there's any more of those around. I know, yeah, for real. I know the Patriots had a guy. He had a funny name too. I forget his damn name, but they had a guy. I think a Gronkowski. There was a fullback Gronkowski at one point. We tried it with Tyler Klutz, you know, but there's not a whole lot of Mooses anymore. I think if they're going to do fullback stuff, you got to be like Kyle Juszczyk.
Okay. Good. Thank you.
Man, appreciate the call, man. Yeah, I mean, I would love if he wore Moose's number. That'd be kind of cool, but he's more Juszczyk, I think. I am interested when the pads come on because they're going to be doing more thudding. But here's the thing, though, about Luepke. You'll be able to tell where his blocking's at because he's going to block. You know, you can't really tackle these dudes at camp, but you can block. I watched a whole lot of dudes get whooped or win last year. So I'm really going to keep my eye on his blocking prowess because it's clear that they want to get him involved. It's just a matter of can he handle whatever it is they're asking him from a responsibility standpoint. And I say clear because you don't see an undrafted fullback working with the first team as much apparently as he was. Y'all ain't right, man. It was a good call. I wonder how long you've been listening, though. Appreciate the call, man. Because don't take these dudes seriously. The bomb squad's wild. Isn't there a fullback named Picard? Isn't Picard more Moose Johnson? Keith Smith? It's a couple of them out there, I guess. All right, we good on this front. All right, final call of the day. Unfortunately, we can't really we can't transition it into I don't want to say the name of my free pub, but I gotta get Miss Queen up in here. I already know what Miss Queen calling about, but we cannot transition that into my sponsors. So it is what it is. Good morning, Miss Queen. Send us out.
Okay, hi, Phil. How are you?
And let me say it for her so that I can let her go. She stands for Zeke. Just letting y'all know who don't know. So go ahead.
I stand for the Cowboys. Not just Zeke. I stand for the Cowboys. And at this time, I feel like our team is at a certain point. And I want that tandem, that Tony Pollard, Zeke tandem for this year.
You want that healthy tandem.
I think.
You want that non-worn down Zeke. What happens when he wears down? You want that?
That's speculation.
How's it speculation? Those are facts. That has happened 3 consecutive years. Fool me once, shame on you. How many times?
He got injured.
How many times is it? How many times is it before it's a trend?
He got injured.
Yeah, he got injured 3 years in a row.
No, 2.
3.
When was the third year?
2020.
He got injured 2 years in a row.
2020, man.
What did he get injured on, Sky?
His knee, man.
Because I know he got hit on the knee 1 year. Then he hyperextended the knee the next year. Other than that,
he hurt his knee in 2020.
Where does 2020, 2021, and 2022?
Hey, Trip Aces. I don't know what you doing over there in the chat with something like that. I don't know how serious you is, but I'm gonna keep my professionalism. So you might want to clarify what you're talking about in the chat, good brother. You don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. All right, and I'm gonna just leave it at that. So you got something to say, you can find me on Twitter, and you can come holler at me in the DM. But you say something like that again, you gone. Continue on, Miss Queen.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, he threatened.
Do I
He
need,
talking about
do
he
I need
want
to
my
get
knee
my
to
gas?
get hit. No. We good over here. We good over
Okay,
here,
don't
Miss
make me
Queen.
have to go get my gas. You know what I'm saying? And I'm
Hey.
from Dallas too. I will get on that
I already
plane,
know,
baby.
Miss Queen. I already know, Miss Queen. Carry on, Miss Queen. Carry on, Miss Queen.
But Zeke, I'm not supposed to sit up here and go on this whole big old rant about how Zeke is okay. I believe that he has recuperated.
Sure.
And I would prefer
Bye.
that tandem.
Don't come back.
What you saying bye to me
Oh,
for?
not you. I'm sorry. This weirdo in the chat talking about something. I'm out. He gone. We're not gonna do that.
Okay.
Yeah, he
yeah,
always
so
been
I
a
would
weirdo
prefer
anyway.
that tandem. I prefer that tandem, and I believe that it would work well for us this year. I think that a lot of the running was hindered last year with the way that they ran the ball. They did a lot of running out of shotgun. Okay, and so that messed up the running game all in itself. So I'm in for bringing Zeke back at least for this year, and I do believe that he's willing to take a lower pay to be here for this awesome thing that we got going on this year. I think that we are going to go to the Super Bowl this year, and we need to have Zeke in there with us. That's all I got to say.
I think he would too. I think he would definitely come back for a lower amount. And I honestly don't believe he would fight for a fight against. Let me say this: fight against a reduced role. It'd be tough. You're talking about a guy who's for years been a lead back to even see even less carries. It'd probably be tough on his ego and just personally. But I think he'd do it.
Okay.
I don't have an issue with him actually. I don't have an issue with him actually taking a reduced role. And I think that's what people like me, I'm not speaking for a guy like Toxic Tom, right? Because there are more people that believe in that. And I'm not against either side. But if he's going to be back, I think he needs to come back in a reduced role as a specialty back, right? And the Joneses got to stay out of this, man. I don't care what type of nostalgia or love that they have. Let the coaches do their damn thing. And don't allow politics to get in the way. That's all. That's one of the things that scares me the most.
Well, I don't know if you saw that interview that they had with him and Tony Pollard. Even last year, Zeke had came to the conclusion that it's the tandem thing, them sharing the load.
It's not Ezekiel Elliott. That's that politic issue. It's the front office. Zeke clearly he had to accept it. He had no choice but to accept it in 2022 because Tony Pollard became the better back and the most productive back on the damn team. Like what you really going to say at that point? The way Tony Pollard was playing, right? And then he understood. This is how I extend my career, right? It's not him.
Right.
I absolutely think he would have the mentality to say, "Hey, I'll just be a complimentary piece or what have you," but. Do the coaches even want that? Does the front office look at it as just that, or do they want to put him in a different role? That is the question that's asked. It's not really about Ezekiel Elliott itself. I think 100% he comes back here. He's like, hey, man, whatever y'all need me to do, I just want to be a part of this. Hello? Oh, there she go.
Oh. Huh?
I thought you hung up on me.
No.
But you feel what I'm saying, though? Like, this isn't about Ezekiel Elliott's mentality and that anymore because he's obviously come around to that. This is about the front office, you know? And the reason why I think it's a legitimate concern is because, again, a guy like Malik Davis, who showed you in his absence, by the way, also TP also showed you in absence, but in his absence that he could handle a little bit more duty. Once Zeke came back, you didn't give him that opportunity. And when it came down to it where you actually needed Malik Davis, you didn't give him any opportunity, and that worries me. That's all.
Yeah. Well, I think that this is my last thing I'm going to say. I think they're going to bring Zeke back, mainly because they're not doing a lot of talking about it, and he is spending time at the Star. And we need him right now for the Super Bowl, for number 6. And that's all I got to say.
All right,
Talk to you later.
Appreciate you, Miss Queen. Miss Queen stands. Miss Queen stands. She believes we need Zeke for the Super Bowl. I don't believe that. I don't believe you need Zeke. You can have the conversation of welcoming him back and being a part, but I don't think it's a necessity. I think we want to see this thing completed with him because it would feel weird without an Ezekiel Elliott if the Cowboys are hoisting the Super Bowl trophy. I saw some guy in the chat, in the comments, not even the chat, said something along the lines of, let's not act like Zeke didn't carry the team early. What are we talking about carrying the team 5 years ago for? Get away from the nostalgic act and think about what is. The minute you're able to do that, I think you will understand what I'm talking about here. But I get we are in a state in sports commentary or sports fandom where you are on one side or the other, or you are extreme or not, and you can't just talk about what is without being super extreme on one end. I figured having a show, it is best to actually talk about both sides of the things. But in fandom, I get it. It's you suck, you're not good, he's great, he's better, and that's the end of the discussion. And I do sometimes forget that's how it is because I have to put on all these damn hats. But guys and girls, we got to come around to this thing. There is context and there is actual factuals and not just emotions when it comes to every single last one of these players, whether it's your guy or not, because you got to have tough conversations about guys that I consider my guy. That's just the facts, man. That's the facts. Appreciate you, Twan. Nah, you know, and if for those who don't know, he dropped one and said I got the PA dog. And so the dude Trips Aces came on here and said, I hope that you get a helmet hit to your knee. And look, man, there's certain people in this chat that I can cut up with. You know what I mean? Let me see who I got. Toxic, Alpha, both Twans is in here. Yeah, Twan, the chat's wild. There's certain people, right? You know, King Element, Brother L, that can say certain things because I don't fool with you like that, Trips. I mean, we ain't, you come in here, only time you come in here is to start drama. So when you say something like that, I need you to clarify yourself. Because if that's what you're going to do in this chat, you can go, bro. You know what I'm saying? You can go. Because that ain't even funny. You can't be a part of the bomb squad, try to be funny, and that's your way of being funny. Got here, dog. CJ, we on the internet, man. These people say crazy things. You don't know. That's why I don't get when people say crazy things. You don't know these people, man. But for the bomb squad that is here, man, whether we agree or disagree, you enjoy the show, please, on your way out, hit the like button. If you want to be a part of the bomb squad and type in things like I hope Sky gets hit in the helmet gets hit in the knee with a helmet, you got to be a subscriber. But just know,
I ain't scared of you, mother.
Just know that I'm coming with the heat. Can't handle the heat, get out the kitchen when it comes to the debates. That's all I'm saying. Oh, but it's crazy, man. Go put on these black forces real quick. Nah, but seriously, man, good stuff today. If you missed it, we talked about the state of the unit, this running back position. And I don't know. Again, I said this months ago. There is something about mystery that excites me, especially this early. Like, I don't want to have a bunch of mysteries when we get into week 4. You know what I'm saying? I want to know what's happening. But going into camp, I'm excited to see what this room look like. And it's a bunch of time that if something don't work out, you can go ahead and bring somebody else into the fold. But run this thing back. If you missed it, we touched on each and every one of these guys, specifically from the top to the bottom, man. From the top to the bottom. All right. Let me see what y'all talking about in this chat. Toxic, get out of here, man. That's true, Slim. I mean, he said, I'm sick and tired of idiot fan. Like, I don't like to call y'all that. There's certain times when people, I know y'all remember when Deuce said trade Michael Parsons. That is idiotic, man. And I hate to go that far because you can have a crazy ass opinion. I just be like, hey, dog, that's your opinion. But trade Michael Parsons, that's idiotic. But yeah, you're right. That is the only thing that gets on my nerves the most is when you saying crazy things. Tino, if I hit the Powerball, I promise you, I would put money in every single last one of y'all super chats. Or not super chats, but cash apps. And I ain't talking about no little $20. I'm talking about money. Because y'all been rocking with a boy. Brother L, drop one. On the way out.
Super chat.
Brother L said, brand management, Sky, you solid. Appreciate it, brother. He said, deals are on the table. Glad you're not letting redacted. Appreciate that. Trick you out of your blessings. Facts. That's what I meant earlier, landlord. Like, I've worked on my patience. I'm still work in progress. I am not perfect. I lose my cool from time to time. But we're not gonna do that. Vic, if I had to look, if I hit the lot, I'm still gonna be talking. This is what I love to do. I'm just gonna be doing it in that studio, Vic. 100%. 100%. Landlord, I actually think I think you'd handle it better than me, man. Because you're really good with words. By the way, landlord, can you drop that for those, because we in overtime. Drop the link if you got a link to that record you did that. I don't know if you've shown it on your show or whatnot, but it was on Law's show. Bars. Absolute bars that you have, man. So drop that link if you got it so everybody go check that out, man. And then clearly he going to be in the trap, I'd imagine, here in a few minutes. So make sure everybody go over there and do their thing over at Landlord from Alabama's channel. It absolutely went hard, bro. It went hard. All right, with that said, because we'll be sitting here talking about whatever, man. I appreciate each and every one of y'all that don't want to see a helmet get put on my knee. Love y'all to death. You ain't gotta like me. Oh, wait till the shirt y'all see tomorrow. This is perfect. You ain't gotta like me, but you're gonna learn to love me. No, but seriously, you ain't gotta like me, man. You just gotta respect me. That's all I ask. One thing I talked to this about Brian, I realized you're not gonna get everybody to like you. Just earn their respect. We out of here. Love y'all. Peace. Probably will have a new schedule, CJ, Friday. I still be on about 3 times a week though. Just deciding on the days.
Squad!